Hey everybody, welcome to another fun episode of the Tim and Mike Show. I'm Tim.
Mike.
We got some fun for you. We didn't really tell you what's going on last week, but
No, we left it
we
a
left it kind of a surprise. Well, we have a jam-packed episode for you, and we are going to break the big news as the thumbnail says. We're going to give you our top 5 directors that we like and grew up with and we enjoy watching films from. And we also watched some movies of them this last week. So we're going to jump right into it and talk about it. Let's go. All right, Mike, who's our first on our list of directors that we're speaking with today?
Well, number 5.
Number 5.
We've got the Coen brothers.
So Joel and Ethan Coen come as a package deal sometimes. So sometimes you can see them on IMDb as one wrote, one directed, but a lot of time they're going to be co-directors. And it's actually kind of a bigger deal when you see them not co-direct. Just recently, one of them, I think it was Joel, directed The Tragedy of Macbeth, which was up for a bunch of awards last year. So, you know, these guys...
What do we think? What do we think about the Coen brothers?
Well, they're on our top 5 list, so I'm
Do
guessing
we
we like them.
So we like the
We
Coen
do.
brothers.
I think we do like the Coen brothers. I think we like what they.
What's your favorite movie from the Coen
My
brothers?
favorite movie is actually funny enough. My favorite movie from the Coen brothers is also the one I watched this week. Okay, I watched The Big Lebowski. Okay, probably one of my favorite movies, obviously by them, but for a long time, maybe one of my favorite movies of all time. Maybe I idolized The Big Lebowski too much in my younger days, but anyways,
He's just the
he's
dude.
The dude abides, man.
The dude abides,
abides.
you know?
Can't stop
Yeah. No, that's a great movie. Great dialogue.
Great dialogue, and
that
that's
movie.
something that goes through the thread of Coen Brothers movie is dialogue. They know how to write it,
Yeah.
and they always cast
do.
and direct well for their performers
Yeah.
to perform it. But this one's no exception.
Great. So who's in The Big
We got
Lebowski?
John Goodman, Steve Buscemi,
John
obviously
Goodman, Steve Buscemi.
Jeff Bridges plays the dude.
And who plays the Jesus?
The Jesus, that of course is our friend John Turturro, right?
John Turturro,
John
yeah, that's
Turturro.
him. And he's good. And they did a spin-off with him. They didn't do too well. I didn't actually watch
Actually,
that.
I didn't watch that either. Funny enough.
The Jesus Rolls. something
Yeah, the
like
Jesus
that.
Roll, something like that. I remember it coming out, but I was like, man, you're about 20 years too late.
He makes a few appearances, John Turturro, and he's in Barton Fink as well, which I really like that movie. That's an older movie.
Which you
91.
But you have another case, and I think you're going to see a lot with some of the directors we have on this list tonight. You have a lot of, hey, these directors worked with these actors a lot, and
Right.
there's a lot of that going on. So I think that it's
Yeah, Frances McDormand,
Frances McDormand
makes
is in-
a bunch of appearances. Burn After Reading. She's in Fargo. Yeah. Which is the movie that I watched.
Fargo, right? Okay.
Actually, Fargo, which is so good. You know what I really love about Fargo is the the northern, what is that, like a
Midwestern kind of accent.
Midwest, yeah, like a Midwestern accent, and everybody's just so polite.
Super polite.
One scene in particular, the cop is like questioning the dude who's snow shoveling out, and the guy's telling him about a story. He's at the bar, you know, and the guy's asking him for some action. He's like, oh, you know, what kind of action you're looking for, you know? And the guy's always looking for ladies, right? It's Steve Buscemi's character, right? And he's at this bar in this little town. And the guy's just, you know, he won't cuss, you know, he said he's a real rude guy, you know, and they're even nice when they're being mean, you know what I mean? And they hit so perfectly, that Midwestern vibe, the entire movie. And so good, man. That's just a great story, too.
It's a great story.
Because once you get all of their movies, great stories.
That's right. They're great storytellers. Like I said, we talked about their one of their strong suits is dialogue, and directing in such a way that these you know, we call them legendary actors now, but a lot of them got their start with them, and they were able to direct them in a way that they could perform these dialogues and without hit or miss. I mean, you got to talk like Philip Seymour Hoffman's the guy that's in a lot of these movies too. I mean, the late Philip Seymour Hoffman, but man,
It's amazing.
one of the best.
Amazing.
So,
Yeah.
so
One scene in particular.
is Fargo your favorite Coen Brothers movie?
I really like No Country for Old Men. I like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's hard to say.
It-
I've seen No Country for Old Men probably more times than I've seen any other movie on the list. Well, Fargo I've seen a few
Yeah,
times
yeah.
too.
I mean, Big Lebowski I've seen about
I
100
think,
times. So
and The Big Lebowski, yeah. I don't know. Big Lebowski's probably my
it's so
favorite.
good because it's so good. Where's the money,
There's a scene I
Lebowski?
wanted to bring up
Where's the money?
when he's at the bar at the bowling alley, and he's just having a conversation with is that Sam Elliott,
Yeah. Oh, the stranger,
the
the
cowboy, the
sarsaparilla,
stranger,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just that part, it's great, And I think they do it a few times, right? They have that conversation at the end as well, if I remember right.
They do. They do.
Uh,
They have a few.
the end of the movie.
It's kind of interwoven throughout the story, where he interacts with the
Right.
stranger.
And I really,
Yeah.
yeah, because he's like the narrator as well.
Yeah. Yeah. He is. The, kind of partial to a certain character in that movie and the dialogue that John Goodman gives. Some of those
Given hell
quotable
to the money.
stuff in the world. V.I. Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, and the whole time Steve Buscemi's like in the background, like, "I'm the walrus, I'm the walrus."
Yeah.
It's such. I mean, it's just a well put together movie. All of their movies are.
Right.
So let's do this with this list tonight. We talked about some of our favorites, which they're on the list, so there's a lot of them. Do we have a least favorite Coen Brothers movie?
Yeah, I haven't seen all their movies, but if the ones I've seen that I really didn't like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Burn After Reading.
I think that sits there with me too. It's tolerable, I'm not gonna watch it, but it's definitely my least favorite of their list.
Lady Killers as well.
See, I
remember
I love
watching
Lady
that, and
Killers.
see, I liked it, but I just, I was just like, run of the mill comedy to me.
It was a little bit more out there, right? It was a little more avant-garde, right? So
Yeah, but as far as not liking anything, I didn't know they did Bad Santa, did they? No, they didn't do Bad Santa. See, this is wrong with these lists. They just throw random stuff on there.
the IMDb.
So, yeah, IMDb, just tossing things on there.
Well, let's say
But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say that there's one I really didn't like, but not really. Not as, I mean, all of them hit. The Hudsucker Proxy.
Hudsucker Proxy.
I saw that one as a kid.
so good.
And yeah, when I was a kid, I thought that was good. So, I mean, Blood Simple. I don't know if I've seen that. That sounds really familiar, though. Anyway, I'll tell you one thing from watching, picking these directors and trying to get onto, what they watched, and then, kind of narrowing it down to what I wanted to watch for the show. It really brought back interest into, revisiting some of these older movies. So I'm going to be hitting, in particular, The Big Lebowski, Barton Fink, The Man Who Wasn't There. I want to try that out. I haven't seen that one yet, so that'll be the first one I'll probably watch.
I might go back and watch the Hudsucker Proxy. Until you mentioned it, I totally forgot they did it, and it's such a good movie. I mean,
Yeah, I mean they've got a great list of movies under their names.
their
So
filmography is pretty brilliant.
it's pretty much,
Let's
in my opinion, you can't miss.
let's say we move on to number 4 on the list. What do you think?
Yeah, let's get it.
Okay,
Let's
we're
move
gonna
it.
jump on to number 4, guys. Number 4, coming in hot. We have Mr. Christopher Nolan,
Oh,
the modern blow your mind kind of filmmaker, right? We talked about it.
and a kind of a similar setup to the Coen brothers because he writes a lot. His brother writes
Yeah, absolutely.
a good amount of the movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's his name?
His brother's. I don't know his brother's name off the top of my head, but I'm sure you
Yeah,
can look that
I'm
up.
not
But let's
sure.
talk about Chris Nolan.
Yep,
Is kind of the
let's keep
guy. We've
going.
mentioned him plenty of times on the show. We've brought movies up. I think we might have done a movie of his on Movie of the Week. Of course, responsible for, in my opinion, the best Batman that's been on screen.
He's so far, yeah. In my opinion,
he's one of these directors that's kind of super prolific, and he always makes these movies that make you think. And he talks about how the movies make him think. He is maybe one of the smartest directors out there, dare I say. He is.
I mean, you almost have to be for some of this writing.
Some of the stuff he comes up with is just.
It's pretty out there.
For the movie, for instance, the movie you watched this week, what'd you watch on Chris Nolan this week?
I watched Tenet just because I wanted, for that reason exactly, is because the first time I watched it, I understood it. But, with those kind of movies, but you're watching it the whole time, you're kind of just like trying to piece it together. And by the end, you pretty much have the understanding you need to have enjoyed the movie. And this one in particular is fairly complicated, and as you're finding out, I mean, they hide everything very well. Watching it, I wanted to watch it a second time because, obviously you pick up those little subtle details along the way. Yeah. So this movie in particular, I really like. I actually like it more than I did now.
So second viewing. Time. Okay, so I have not done a second viewing of Tenet. I watched it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I did notice that as soon as if I did watch it again and sat down and watched it again, it would definitely open my eyes in a different way. I'm sure to some of these things I missed. But we want to talk about it for a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just kind of about a future version of our world has kind of run out of what they need, and they have this plan to send weapons back in time to this. I guess I don't know if he's an arms dealer or whatever. He owns land in a nuclear wasteland that nobody can get to. That he is the only one that can get to. So that's where they kind of are supplying all these things. In his way, he's able to kind of go back and forth in between these, future and the past, I guess, or the present. And so their idea is to actually blow up our world and send. So in their world, everything is running in reverse, right? It's flowing this way, and in our world it's flowing this way, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, but their plan is to send a nuclear bomb back, blow up our world, and send all of the energy back towards them. And in turn, I guess their rivers will start running. There'll be the abundance of surplus of whatever.
It'll get their world back on track.
Yeah, so they want to basically send the flow of energy back their way and kind of bring, back their world.
Right. This movie timeline correct, right? Yeah, kind of.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's what it is so the villain in this movie, his perspective is that we have destroyed their world because of the things we've done in their past, right? And now because of that, our future is at risk of just being wiped out, right? And so he wants to help them. So in his mind, he's a hero. But I believe that's Denzel Washington's
son. Yeah, it is.
Son.
Yeah, sure is.
John David Washington. And Robert Pattinson both play, I guess, time cops.
For lack of a better word, yes. Yeah, they do.
Kind of like Jean-Claude Van Damme in Time Cop.
For lack of a better word, they play time cops. Let's not directly reference that in relation to...
He does a split over a taser in that movie. He does a jump split, and the taser goes right under his legs.
Jump split!
Jump splits. Yeah. That was good. But yeah, in that movie, they're trying to prevent it, and their perspective is that every timeline has their problem, and it's theirs to deal with. Sure. Right? So, and that's their perspective. And so they ended up stopping them and kind of setting it up. But you find out that, John David Washington's character, as this point in the past, he basically starts this whole program that Robert Pattinson's a part of. Robert Pattinson's part of the future.
Right. Here's my question. You have the IMDb in front of you. If I believe it or not, I believe that his character's name is actually protagonist, right? They actually never gave him a name.
It is protagonist.
Yeah. I always thought that was interesting. It's it's such a thing because it's like, oh, you think it's just lazy writing or whatever, but it's like then it's Chris Nolan, and you're like, I don't know.
Well, he literally is.
Yeah, he literally is the protagonist to the film.
Well, what's great because he sets all of that in motion technically.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it's a strange concept. It's the same as, going into the future, into the past, who started what, if this wouldn't have happened then, would this have happened,
right.
The back and forth kind of thing. And what I liked about this one is it really reminded me of Memento. And you and me have both loved Memento, yes. But that's the first time I actually had watched a Coen brother. I mean, Christopher Nolan.
That's his first big film, wasn't it? Like that's his first major release.
I believe it was, yeah. Yeah, and that movie is similar writing style. You know, his brother wrote that movie, I believe, as well.
I'm not
Um,
100% sure about that, but
I believe he did. Yeah, I want to say he did, and I can't remember his brother's name. And you know what's funny is Memento is not even coming up on that.
is it not?
I think it'd be in the previous. I guess I don't
So
know.
yeah, his first major film. I mean, he's got a few different little ones, a couple shorts, a movie called The Following. But yeah, it's Memento is his first major release.
Two
So
thousand.
Jonathan Nolan,
So
his brother
2000s.
Jonathan Nolan,
Yeah.
is the one that
Yeah, and he has a lot of the
Right.
writing credits in the
helped
movie.
write it. So they write together.
Helped.
They're a writing team. So
So just kind of like Ethan and Joel Coen, then we have a similar style. That's my favorite movie from Christopher Nolan is
Memento. Yeah, of course, and it's not mine, but I do love it. I see. I always love Chris Nolan movies because of this. I mean, grasp and manipulation of time throughout all his films. Let's say Tenet. Half the movie is forward in time, half the movie is backward in time.
Right.
To Memento. Memento is as you find out in the movie.
Basically
Spoiler alert. Is backwards.
in
Yeah,
reverse.
it's always movies in reverse, which until you figure that out blows your mind.
Movie's so good.
So good.
Similar writing
Yeah,
styles.
but
Inception.
That's not just it. It's
Inception.
but in Interstellar, the way he handles time.
Yeah.
He goes to some worlds
Yeah.
and he's on a planet for minutes and it's been 7 years, right? The whole grasp, the
Right.
closer you are to the singularity, the biggest grab. And yes, as we mentioned before, the movie I watched for Christopher Nolan was Inception, and the grasp of time there is brilliant within the dream world, right?
Another movie that people have the same issue with is Tenet. You know, where they watch it once and they're just like, I don't know, it's kind of, can I figure this out? Now, watching it the second time, did you have that same perspective as like picking up like the subtle details?
I've watched this movie several times. It's
Okay.
probably one of my favorite Hans Zimmer scores. You kind of this subtle, really great score in it. Visually brilliant movie, but yeah, like this concept of time and the just that thread throughout, and the great ending of the unknowing. What the dialogue that you have? We can call our buddy Brian right now, and we can have a 10, 20-minute discussion about is he still dreaming or is he not?
Right.
And that's the brilliance of that movie.
And it's cool too because in that scene, the very end, it dips.
Yes.
But it keeps going.
Stutters, right? It stutters just a
Right.
bit, and
Yeah.
because if you
There's-
go top, might stutter before it falls.
And there's the doubt, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's a great movie. Great cast too.
Marianne Cotillard is the wife. Leonardo DiCaprio, of course, brilliant role. You had Elliot Page now, I guess Ellen Page.
Elliot Page, yeah.
Now. You have
Tom Hardy,
a young
Cillian
Tom
Murphy.
Hardy that is plays the Bruiser in this film, but really, really great.
He's great in that. Cillian Murphy,
Cillian Murphy,
one of my
yes,
favorites.
which is a
Tom Berenger, can't go wrong.
no, you really can't.
Original sniper.
Yeah, and then you have just Elliot Page. You have
We got Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Lucas Haas, he's good. Great cast.
My favorite probably is Ken Watanabe, because I'm a big fan of Last Samurai as well. But Ken Watanabe, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt also, kind of the super artist of our generation. And then of course another kind of thing that Chris Nolan does similar to the Coen brothers is he kind of runs this similar cast, right? Cillian Murphy's in a lot of his movies. Michael Caine is in a lot of his films.
For sure.
He's just a big part of it.
Oh, look at that IMDb. It's just a spinning top.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's great, right?
Shows the trailer. It's pretty cool.
But yeah,
I like that stuff.
great movie. If you have not watched it in forever, it's really good. But this goes to the thread of all Christopher Nolan movies. It's sometimes it's hard for me to sit down and watch a Christopher Nolan movie, not because I don't think it's good, I don't think anything like that, but because I want to make sure I'm sitting down and giving it my full attention. Right, it's something I've learned after what.
You devote a little brain power.
Yeah, because he's gonna ask for it, and he's gonna ask you for it, and if you give it to him, 9 times out of 10, it's worth it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I really would say that there's the Prestige. Is that his movie?
Prestige is his, yes. Prestige is his. Great cast again. You got to call back,
So amazing.
and it's such a weird spot for Christian Bale to be in because this is in between two Batman movies.
And again, if anything, kind of revisiting these, like kind of like I'm probably going to say for every single director is, it just opens up so many movies you want to watch
Yeah,
again.
absolutely.
Going through their filmography,
It's because they're quality. It's because they're. It's because. I mean, these are the guys that we want to make our movies nowadays, and you have these younger filmmakers who want to poke holes in some of these guys' films. I mean, go ahead and try. I think that sometimes you'll find yourself wanting. I'm excited about. In fact, we talk about it. And heads up, spoiler alert on the news. We talk about the next Christopher Nolan movie because he's got something good coming out for us. So, I don't know. But do we think?
So you
I
want
think we move on to number 3.
Yeah,
All right,
I think we hit it.
all right, let's go to number 3, guys. Number 3, we have a guy who started out as a young actor and realized that people don't really love gingers, and so he started to direct movies, and he's directed some of our favorites, Mr. Ron Howard. All right.
No. Hey, Ron Howard.
Okay. So,
What do you think about Ron?
Ron's.
What do you think about Ron?
Ron's
What do you think about Ron's an interesting guy. Ron's got some interesting. He's got an interesting lineup.
He does. He's he's directed some of your favorite movies.
Also, TV shows. TV shows. Let's not forget Arrested Development. Great show.
Yeah. Didn't he
Mr.
produce
Ron.
that though? Was he a producer?
I think he did produce it, but he also makes appearances on it.
Oh yeah, he does. He's a narrator. Heck, he's the narrator of it.
He is the narrator. Yeah. So what did you watch with Ron?
Well,
Mr.
I
Ron
watched
Howard?
my favorite Ron Howard movie with Ron, and probably one of my favorite. If you don't know me, which out there most of you don't, I am a gigantic space nerd. I live in Houston, Texas, home of NASA. I love everything Apollo, everything NASA. So I watched, which was my favorite of the Ron Howard movies. So I watched Apollo 13. Obviously depicts a tragic moment in NASA history, the Apollo history. Apollo 11, of course, we successfully landed on the moon. Apollo 13 was supposed to be, at this point, a routine, because Apollo 12 landed on the moon as well. At this point, it's supposed to be a routine mission, right? And it was far from that. And Ron Howard definitely makes it dramatic, makes it interesting. The great Tom Hanks plays your lead character. You had
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris in it, who plays Gene Kranz, is one of the best mission control guys. You had Bill Paxton in it, the late Bill Paxton's in it.
Yes.
Of course, you have Kevin Bacon, so you can use Apollo 13 in your 6 degrees. So just a heads up.
And
Yeah.
isn't Gary Sinise in that?
Gary Sinise is. Gary
And
Sinise.
you can't forget about Gary Sinise, Tim.
You really can't, because he plays
He's
a
so
great
good.
character in this movie as well.
He plays a great character in every movie.
He does.
Snake Eyes? Come on.
Yeah, that's true. So he plays he plays
He's the bad guy.
Ken Mattingly, who was on the original crew, but then they found that he might have the mumps. Right.
Couldn't
So you
go.
can't go to space if you have any possibility of being sick.
Right.
And so he got grounded, and that allowed
How do you think?
Bob Swiggert's character, which is Kevin Bacon, to come in there
Kevin Bacon, right.
and set up. But he plays.
Yeah.
But he's the one that gets everybody out of the mess. Gary Sinise,
does.
heads up, is the hero of the movie.
He does. He's the one down on the ground, coming up
Figuring
with
it out.
figuring out how to fix them. And what I really like that. So one thing about this movie that I really liked was I felt like Ron Howard. He made it look real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
And you really
feels
get a
real.
glimpse into what they have to deal with if there's a malfunction or something up there. You know, they know what they have on board, and they basically have to build something with what's there. And and he's giving them ideas for a tube they can pull off of this, or a wire they can grab from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool movie.
I mean,
Good
it's a great
director.
movie, and it just goes to Ron Howard's repertoire. Some of my favorite movies. Again, he uses Tom Hanks a lot, but Da Vinci Code is probably one of my favorite movies. It's again a great book. I have all the Dan Brown books, but great movie. It's a great there's a great score behind it by Hans Zimmer. He's done A Beautiful Mind, which is about John Nash, the mathematician. He's done, he did Ransom. You go through Ron Howard's. It's like you were saying with the other two directors. You go through Ron Howard's IMDb or his filmography, and you're gonna want to watch every one of those movies because they're so good.
You will want to.
Willow, Cocoon, and of course the movie you watched. He did Far and Away, which is I love that movie. It's kind of an Irish thing for me, but
I didn't.
You didn't love that movie. See, you just don't like.
I didn't watch
Love.
Them.
Is your problem?
I said I didn't watch that. I watched Backdraft.
You don't like Love. No, you watch Backdraft, right?
Yes, I watched Backdraft. No, you saying Far and Away with Tom Cruise and his ex-wife,
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually liked that movie. I watched that when I was a kid. I liked it. I watched Backdraft.
Right. You watched Backdraft.
And one thing I like about Ron Howard is Mr. Clint Howard. He's in there.
He's in everything, and he's like a familiar face. He's like a member of your family. Clint Howard is.
He is. Yeah. He's a very interesting looking fellow.
He is interesting. He's ugly as sin. It's true. But like you said, he's like an uncle. Like you've seen him throughout your whole life. Everybody knows who Clint Howard is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a good point. I didn't think I'd bring that up.
I watched, so what I watched Backdraft, one thing that stood out to me was the 80s. It was the 80s, right? And so you have a lot
90s.
of...
early 90s. It's 91, so...
Is it 91?
Yeah,
okay, we'll say we're reminiscent of that montage, slow motion, like Top Gun, the volleyball scene.
Super action.
The
drama.
They're out there saving puppies in one scene. There's this cheesy music playing. They're picking up puppies off the ground. It's slow motion. They're kind of laughing. There's water splashing everywhere. There's broken crap all over the ground. So it is to have that, but that movie is so good. The thought behind it. There's clues along the way as to who is starting the fires, right? Because what the movie is about is a guy who's been starting fires in different places, and these particular fires are set up when they open the door, basically a backdraft and an explosion of fire, and then they go and put themselves out right after. So you find out that Robert De Niro's character is a fire detective, and he's kind of trying to solve that mystery, but overall, I think anything that you watch from his lineup, you're going to be fine with. In my opinion, I just started watching the Thai flood thing that he did on Amazon that you can find on Amazon. I don't know. I can't remember. It's called 13.
Oh, the kids that were in the second.
The kids in the good. Oh man, it's really good, and it's got who's in that? I can't remember, but it's got a really good actor in it that you'll like. But it's really good. Oh, Viggo Mortensen.
It's got 13 Lives is what you're talking about. He's talking about 13 Lives.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good one. That's his. I think that's his newest one.
It is. It is his newest directed movie. Yes.
Yeah, check that one out. I recommend that. You get those kind of movies. Epic, really. Yeah, Joel and and it's almost kind of like reality style filming.
Okay.
Kind of like guerrilla style. Shaky kind of camera. They're in the water. In a cave.
So they're using all handhelds. There's no big crane.
Right. I mean, and it kind of makes it seem like you're more in it. Kind of, I guess, was what he was trying to go for. More like realistic. I guess you're there, kind of feeling. But that's a good one. Yeah, I recommend it. It hits kind of what he does. These kind of epic, important stories, right? Like Apollo 13, right? That's an important, so Beautiful Mind, right? Like you said, those are important people. They've done, so you get that with 13 Lives, and so he's a good. Can't go wrong with Ron.
Yeah, Ron's great. I mean, and like I said, he does these these iconic films throughout your childhood, and that's. I mean, I hope the rest of this list kind of is that portrays that. There's a lot of to me. There's a lot of with film. There's a lot of comfort. It's like comfort food, right? It's if I'm having a bad day, I want to put on the Lord of the Rings, or if if I'm having this, I might put on like Backdraft. I love that movie. I have a 4K edition of it.
It's good.
It's one of the best movies. I mean, Kurt Russell, one of the Baldwin brothers, maybe not the best one. Who knows?
William
Is it William Baldwin?
William Baldwin.
Yeah.
So they did a sequel too, and he's in it. I didn't watch that,
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
but I didn't know that was out. Not Ron
Yeah,
Howard.
did Ron do it? Then I don't want to watch it.
No, it's not good. So like
yeah.
Ransom was a great movie.
Ransom's a great movie. Mel Gibson. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That was a great movie. Cocoon.
That's what I'm saying. There's this list of movies. You can go through it all, but there's these movies that just are comforting, right? Let's take, for example, probably his most controversial movie right now in the mainstream eye is Solo, a Star Wars story. A lot of people do not like that movie. I am not one of them. I think that is a strong Star Wars film, and I think it is like really worth the watch. And maybe that's me being biased because it's Ron Howard. But I thought the film was done well. I thought it fits in the genre. It is not necessarily a Skywalker story. It's a story of Han Solo, and I thought it was great.
So Ron Howard did Solo.
Yeah, he directed that one. But again, Dan Brown. But if you watch all the Dan Brown movies, the Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, Inferno, those are all freaking awesome. I do marathons of those movies, right? Like they're so good.
Oh yeah, you're really Tom Hanks is just
killer. Have you ever seen the movie Frost Nixon?
No.
Really good movie, directed by Ron Howard. It's about the first Frost was a TV personality back in the 70s, and it's the first interview of Richard Nixon after he is resigned as president. It's a really good movie. The cast is amazing. But it's let's see, Frank Langella. It plays Richard Nixon, and Michael Stern plays David Frost. Sam Rockwell's in it. Oliver Platt's in it. Kevin Bacon's in it. It's a really great movie. So
I'm gonna check that out.
Frost Nixon. It's a really, really good. I have that on Blu-ray as well. So.
And I think we really didn't even hit the fact that he was, in Happy Days. He was in the Andy Griffith Show. This guy's been acting since he was a kid.
He's a child. He's one of these stories of a child actor that didn't go completely wrong.
No, and he's just turned out so much. Like when you look at his resume, it's just crazy.
Well,
acting and everything else. I mean,
I point toward you. He did a Beatles thing, but I point toward you to Willow. Okay, right now Willow is not my favorite thing in the world because that show on Disney Plus is a hot pile of garbage.
But you don't like it?
Willow, the original Willow movie, that's the first movie I remember watching and going to get the action figures from McDonald's and stuff. And the Mad Mardigan action figure and all these things. That's George Lucas and Ron Howard teaming up together. That's an amazing movie. It's a lot of fun.
It is, yeah.
And that's just kind of the things. But it's like comfort food, right? Splash. All kinds of good things. We can wax poetic about Ron Howard all day. We have other directors to get to.
We really need to move on.
Yeah. Do we?
Yeah, I think that can be said about pretty much any one of these guys.
I think so. I think that list. Well, maybe not the first two. Maybe the Coen brothers a little bit, but they got their start in the '90s. And then Chris Nolan the same way, kind of late '90s. So these guys, maybe those two before, don't have that necessarily same comfort level. But I will say that Ron Howard you're going to see that, yeah, this is like a nice bowl of soup kind of watch a movie. I'm having a bad day, I'm going to watch some movies. So let's get on to the next guy. Let's go on to number 2. Our number 2 director on our list is who?
We got Martin Scorsese.
We have Martin Scorsese.
Which I love Martin Scorsese.
I also love Martin Scorsese. Again, we're talking about that awesome kind of...
His style is so good.
It's amazing. He got to start in the 70s, right? He's part of that batch of directors from the 70s, the Lucases, the De Palmas, the Coppolas, and the Spielbergs. He's one of those guys. But if you look at his resume, tell me He's not one of the best. I mean, he has 72 directing credits under his belt. So, but let's jump into the movie that you watched. What did you watch from Scorsese?
Well, so I want and see this one's interesting. So I watched Taxi Driver, and I want to watch this one. I was in my 20s for the first time, and I loved it. It's the first time you hear the iconic line from Robert De Niro: "Is you talking to me?
Talking to me?
You talking to me?"
A lot of
You know,
people
and
say that,
you
don't
see
know where
that
that's
in a
from.
lot of impressions, and right, but you don't know where that's from. But that's from Taxi Driver, and that's with Robert De Niro is out of the military, and one thing I say is they don't really touch on that too much. You just know he's honorably discharged, but clearly doesn't like the city, New York City, doesn't like the crime and the grid. And he just wants to basically take out everyone. And so little by little, he just kind of loses it. And he meets this prostitute, plays Jodie Foster, underage prostitute at the time. Now, I will say that movie came out, in 76?
Yes.
So you had Jodie Foster playing an underage prostitute. And so what I want to kind of take a spin from now, because there's a story that came out of this movie based on a man named John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan in honor of Jodie Foster after watching Taxi Driver. Mm-hmm. So more or less the story is that this taxi driver, Robert De Niro, is more or less a vigilante, right? And he tries to assassinate a president after, not a president, but a running candidate to be president, and is kind of unsuccessful at it, and then ends up trying to save this underage prostitute, Jodie Foster. Ends up getting shot, and the movie's kind of cool in that sense because he gets shot, right? He kind of loses it, and then he becomes a hero in the papers. You know what I mean? And so there's a whole bunch. I won't get into the story, but Sybil Shepherd's character basically turns him down, and in the end comes back to him. So Sybil Shepherd's character basically sparks his descent into madness. She turns him down because he takes her to a porno movie,
which back in the 70s was kind of a date night thing.
I guess. Yeah. I thought that was so weird when I first saw that. I'm like, why is he doing that? But he's an odd fellow, yeah. Right? She doesn't like this, won't see him again. But she's working for this candidate. She's like one of these people that helps him get votes, right? And so she's there with him, and so he starts kind of stalking this president guy, and tries to kill him, and he's got his head shaved at this point. He's got guns everywhere, and he's just, vigilante, kind of style, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in the end, he ends up being the hero, and she comes back. So kind of a funny spin on his descent into madness, more or less, and very cool. But anyway, I guess this guy kind of found some kind of connection between those characters and tries to do something similar in honor of this Jodie Foster.
Yeah, I mean,
young Jodie Foster. Yeah, John Hinckley Jr. So very crazy, almost kind of like a what was that book that supposedly got that guy to do that killing or whatever?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know at the top of my head what you're talking about.
There's a book that I read in high school about this guy talks about like orange shooting caps and stuff. And supposedly it sparked. But anyway, but yeah, I really enjoy Scorsese movies. You got the Goodfellas going. You got a lot of the gangster movies that I really like that he's very good at doing.
Let's just go through. Let's go through a little bit, and then I'll bring up the one I watched. Let's just kind of go through it. So yeah, Taxi Driver, probably the first big hit that we know. That's a cult. Like Mean Streets is good, but like the first kind of cult classic is Taxi Driver.
Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye.
Sorry,
that's the book. What it was. Yeah. The book you're talking about.
The book that kind of made Mark David Chapman lose it, supposedly. So similar thing. That's a very crazy story, right?
Yeah. But let's go through it.
I'm sorry.
So Taxi Driver, The Last Waltz, Raging Bull. I mean,
Raging Bull.
We're talking about some of the most classic movies of all time.
De Niro.
The Color of
Money.
And
again, throwback to how many people does he use?
Right. Again.
De Niro.
Pesci.
Yeah.
Pesci. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You see that, and pretty much all these guys we've picked.
yeah, absolutely.
They've got their
They
mainstays.
like to work together, and so it's kind of a chicken and the egg situation. Did one make one great, or did the other one make the others great? Like it's
Right. Well,
kind of this thing.
it's true.
So yeah, but The Color of Money, does Tom Cruise jump into there?
that's
Goodfellas,
good.
of course. Everybody knows Goodfellas. Cape Fear.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, Goodfellas is an
Also,
amazing movie.
great movie. Robert De Niro plays a freaking beast
Ooh,
in
that movie is scary. I remember being a
That
kid
is.
and watching that movie and being horrified of that man. Casino.
Yeah, because that's like Casino,
Yeah.
dude. Casino, Goodfellas.
Hold on. You there?
Yeah, but I can't see you.
Hold on. Dang it.
Out there.
There it goes.
Okay.
My thing is going unplugged. I don't know why it keeps coming on.
It's
my
okay.
internet thing. Okay.
But yeah,
Sorry.
he could have been one in my. He could have been one in my opinion.
Yeah, he could
Just
have
as
been.
easily as our number
His
one.
list is so good. I mean, obviously, when we get to number one, I'm sure people have already guessed who number one is because if you watch a few episodes of this, you know what my favorite
Yeah,
person in
well.
the world is. But but then you go up to like kind of the newer, not newer stuff, but I guess newer stuff. Bringing Out the Dead with your hero. Your Nick
Nick
Cage.
Cage.
Oh yeah, buddy.
That was such a weird one, though.
It was a very weird movie, very off,
Yeah.
but it felt more in the vein of Taxi Driver than anything he's done between then.
Yeah. More like a descent into madness again.
Exactly.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so.
Honestly, there's one that pops out to me as maybe not my favorite Scorsese movie because I just don't like it. But The Aviator was not my jam.
Yeah, he was okay.
I fell asleep the first 5 times I tried to watch that movie, and it's like, but
That's Howard Hughes, right?
But then he picked it up and he gave us probably one of my favorites, which is The Departed.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
that so many times.
I love Shutter Island. I love
Shutter Island's a great
you know,
story.
Hugo was a great movie. Hugo, not the anime, but the one with the kid and the timepiece and all that stuff. He did Silence, which I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's very good. And then of course The Irishman is probably biggest one, the most recent. Now the one that I really liked and I watched, of course, was The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, this movie has everything.
it does.
It has humor. It is intriguing. The whole idea of money and the decadence it buys you and the insanity that it gives you.
It's fast paced, and then it'll cut to like a fourth wall break almost. And yeah, it's
unabashedly,
good. Yeah. No, it's really cool movie. Yeah, I just recently watched that one myself. So I mean, that's definitely a good one. I think I've heard a lot of people think that he's kind of putting a spin on a pretty bad dude, like a better spin on a bad.
So Jordan
you know what I mean?
Jordan Belfort, I kind of dipped into as everybody did in 2020, trying to figure out what the heck you're going to do. I dipped into the finance world for a little while, and I listened to some podcasts of Jordan Belfort. I mean, he's a guy. He's a greedy guy, right? And that's what it is.
He took a lot of like
he stole
good people's money,
He
like
did.
a lot, like a lot of money.
He's no.
He obviously did his time for it, but
He's no Bernie, but yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people out there like that, but those kind of movies, the way that one in particular was shot, I guess it doesn't frame him in a good light, but it almost makes you think, okay, well, I mean, look what this dude was doing. I mean, that's great fun,
And what it brings out to you, whenever you see Jordan Belfort kind of in real life on his podcast or whatever it is, he is a sleazy guy.
Right, he comes across that way.
He is a sleazy guy, and that's yeah, he's real. Hey, the money's everything, right? Come on, right? He's that guy. And I mean, it's
a wonder he did so much sales.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't trust that guy.
Like, who's this?
Who are you? No,
I don't think so. You
good.
sound like you're trying to rob me.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's a great movie though. If you haven't watched it, it's a great one. It's funny about this movie. This movie kind of brings up this space and time with the Oscars with me. So this movie should have given Leonardo DiCaprio his best actor. It was his best performance ever. He was amazing in this movie. Of course he did, and I forget who got it that year, but as kind of a makeup, I guess, and that's how Academy works. They give you makeup Oscars. They gave it to him the next year, which is funny enough, the year that Matt Damon should have won for The Martian. It's like
What did he win? The Revenant?
yeah, he won for The Revenant, which honestly is probably, in my opinion, his worst performance. I hated
Right.
that movie. I hated that.
You don't like it?
Oh, because he grunts the whole dang time. Like he's
Yeah.
half the movie is just him hitting his ass kicked by a bear and then grunts.
Tom Hardy's character.
Yeah, but it's I'm not a fan of the movie. I definitely don't think he should have won Best Actor. That movie was that award was absolutely, hey, you did a great job in this one, and we saw we missed The Wolf of Wall Street. Here's your award, but you stole Matt Damon's best performance. The Martian is his.
The Martian was
best performance.
good.
So good.
Good
Anyways,
movie.
I digress.
But we're not talking about Martians.
We're not. We're talking about
Who's your
Monsters,
favorite character in that movie?
and The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I don't know. It started a bunch of careers. So you got to remember, John Bernthal is in that movie. I love that character.
Yeah.
He's the drug smoggling kind of
Yeah.
money
He's the
laundering
mule.
guy. He's great.
Yeah. Seth Rogen. I like Seth.
Not Seth Rogen. Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. I
Jonah
love
Hill.
his character in that movie.
Yeah,
He's off the wall.
Oh, he's
That's
great.
probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great cast though. They work well together. Got some supporting cast is really good too, and they're not, to me, not well known people, but great actors, and nonetheless, I didn't know any of the supporting cast. Not really seen except for
There's lots of guys in there. I mean, Kyle Chandler's in there. John
Yeah, I've seen
Favreau's
him
in there.
before,
Rob
but-
Reiner's in there. I mean,
Rob Reiner.
Yeah,
I'm talking about his little group of guys.
PJ Byrne. I guess you kind of see him in some stuff, but yeah, I can see that. So there may be a little more
I
obscure.
mean, there's some cameos of some more popular people too, but his main little group of dudes.
Yeah.
Only like one or two of them in there that I really seen a lot. Did a good job. I liked it though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you cannot miss with Scorsese. So
You can't. Okay, so let's go to our number one. Let's get to it because we're going to talk probably wax poetically about this gentleman as well. Number one on our list, and you probably all know it already, of course, is Mr. Steven Spielberg. Okay, the guy has literally given us all the movies you love and you cherish. You teach them to your kids, right? These are the movies that you watch with your kids to say, hey, these are the kind of things I grew up with and I love.
yeah,
He
E.T. is my first memory of a movie that I watched.
probably mine too. I mean, honestly, if you think
When
about
I was
it,
a
you're
kid.
absolutely
That was
right.
pretty big deal was E.T. I remember having that on VHS and watching it, and I really liked seeing that when he would hide in the toys.
Yeah.
That part, I really liked that for some reason. That when he gets, he starts screaming at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's one of those directors that he really kind of fills your childhood. I think.
He does.
Goonies.
He's giving you everything. Goonies. Oh my gosh, Goonies, man. Come on. Like that movie should be in the Library of Congress. I mean, it's such an important movie. But kind of going
Indiana Jones is your favorites. What did you watch from Mr. Spielberg?
Mr. Spielberg, well, I watched one of I guess it's really one of my favorites, honestly. And I know I talk about him a lot, and I bring it up a lot, and yada yada yada, and because he really is one of my idols, and I think he's one of the best people ever, because he's made so many of these movies. But I watched a movie that's probably one of my low key favorites, and it's a movie that I often find myself watching in these weird moments of my life, and I watched Munich, which is of course about during the Munich Olympics, Black September was a terrorist group who went and murdered the entire Jewish Olympic team.
Yeah.
Savagely.
While they're in their hotel, right?
Yeah, well, some of them were murdered in the hotel. Some of them were murdered in the helicopter. Them trying to escape.
Okay.
But most of them got away. A lot of Black September got away. Not most of them, but a lot of them got away. And So what happens is Israel, the country, the state, and their Mossad, which is their secret service kind of thing, their CIA-ish thing, essentially hire this group of people to contract kill the suspected members and planners of Black September.
And who's in charge of that?
Eric Bana.
Eric Bana.
And a guy that I couldn't say most of the time. I really enjoy his acting. Like, he's whatever to me. Like, I hate him as the Hulk, but whatever. Movie. Yeah, he's okay. But in that movie,
he's a badass.
He is so good. He can this character. He can just convey, like, you know.
You don't get. He doesn't get a lot of credit for it either.
No,
you don't hear a lot about him. That's a good. That's a good point for that movie.
Yeah,
and the movie especially.
Yeah, it's a standout performance for him for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely a standout performance. But it's a great movie, and it goes through this, and it's a Steven Spielberg movie, so it's lengthy, and especially when he gets into this history stuff. It's a long movie, but he goes through this whole them trying to find all these bombs or make all these bombs and you know take for all intents and purposes, you know, these terrorist attacks that they're planning. Jeffrey Rush plays the contact for the Mossad. Yeah, it's just really good, man. I don't know. I really love it. But again, I bring up, like, that's kind of why I say it's like one of these low key kind of one of these low key favorite movies. But if you go through his movie list, which to be fair is not as extensive as Scorsese's. Scorsese has 72 directing credits under his belt. Steven Spielberg only has 52.
Yeah, like I said, I think you could argue interchangeable, and I'm sure other people would argue other people as well, because there's tons of directors out there.
Oh yeah, of course. And let's be fair,
right.
since we've mentioned this list.
Quality, quality, not quantity.
We're going to talk about you know, Steven Spielberg some more, and we've mentioned this list and all this good stuff. But let's be fair, and you know, this is our list. This is our favorites. Not saying anybody's wrong or these are the best ever. These are the ones that we say that we like the most. And yours could be totally different. And we want to hear all about yours. You know, whenever you have these conversations with people, it does anything in the world. We hope it just brings up the desire to go watch some of these movies, to have some of these memories, to have some of these kind of moments.
Yeah, like I said, I was looking through this list. This one, I almost watched Munich.
Yeah,
I forgot all about it. I like that movie.
It's a great movie, man. What did you watch, Mike?
I ended up going with Minority Report.
So,
which I didn't even know that was a Spielberg movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a Spielberg movie.
Yeah, but you were talking about it earlier, and you see Spielberg all throughout it. You know what I mean? So it's an action sci-fi, and definitely a serious one, right? It's a serious story, right? And a cool story, right? You have these precogs, these three humans that I guess have these abilities they can see into the future and predict murders, right? And they weren't able to control it, so they basically sedate them, and they're in this thing, and they basically in Washington D.C. set up this to where there's no murders anymore. They get a prediction ball, and they go and they call them precog, right? They go in before the murder's committed, and they try to stop it, right? And that's Tom Cruise's job. And the movie's cool. I'm not going to go into too much in the movie, but what I wanted to point out was I noticed watching it again, because I've seen it before, but knowing it was a Spielberg movie and watching like the action sequences and things, you kind of get like the Goonies vibe, you know what I mean? It's not like it's a comedy though, but it's like it's slapstick action. So maybe Tom Cruise jumps onto the dude's back that's wearing a jetpack, and they're flying all over the place and they're banging into stuff, but it's not like brutal blood, you know what I mean? It's more,
it's fun. It's
fun, right? Fun action style. And I was watching, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I didn't know that was a Spielberg movie, because it is literally throughout the entire thing. You get the Indiana Jones vibe that, you know what I mean? When you watch, right. And so that was really cool, because the movie's good. The movie's good, not his best, but I'd already watched so many Spielberg movies recently too. So,
well, I'll tell you what. Minority Report, for the advertising, you wouldn't know it's a Spielberg movie. Sometimes you forget that too. That's a very good point. because where it is very him, it's also very much a departure. Actually, in the time frame he was making those movies, but I mean,
yeah, definitely not what he's normally known for sure. The style, but there is hints of him in there. Right. But I liked it. I liked that. That was a good movie. Doesn't get a lot of play. I feel like.
I think it's a great movie. I think it's only one of maybe the first one that he's worked with Tom Cruise. He eventually works with Tom Cruise again for War of the Worlds, but yeah, this might be the first one he actually worked with Tom Cruise. But let's just as we gave Scorsese that kind of, if we want to say they're interchangeable, let's give Spielberg's list the love real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
My favorite movie, possibly of all time, is Ghostbusters. But maybe my second favorite movie, possibly of all time, is Jaws.
Jaws is awesome.
It's so good. But anyways, it's just a great movie. So that's the Spielberg, right? So then we get into that. Close Encounters. So what I did with Scorsese's list is I kind of jumped, right? But I'm not going to jump with Steven Spielberg. Jaws, Close Encounters, 1941, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Twilight Zone the movie. So I probably jumped over that one. Temple of Doom, The Color Purple.
Well, he directed a segment, right, in Twilight.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, he directed the movie. A segment of the movie, yeah, I guess so. But The Color Purple, Empire of the Sun, Christian Bale's first movie.
Yeah, he's a kid.
Last Crusade, Always, I don't know if you remember that one. I've never seen The Visionary. Hook, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, The Lost World,
great.
Amistad, Saving Private Ryan.
Amistad's great. Saving Private Ryan is great.
Yeah, AI, which maybe that's a weaker one for me. I don't think that I like that movie too much.
Yeah, that's probably mine.
I'd say that's my weakest one, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Minority Report, Catch Me If You Can, freaking Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, that's good.
The Terminal, War of the Worlds, Munich, Indiana Jones, Crystal Skull, another weak one. Adventures of Tintin, War Horse, Lincoln, Bridge of Spies, The BFG, The Post, Ready Player One, West Side Stories, and The Fabelmans, which is my current pick for Best Picture.
Yeah. No,
that's why he's number one, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's number one.
He's definitely got a ton of great movies. I'm not a big fan of The Terminal.
Okay, that's fine. I think it's a fine movie for what it is. I don't know if it's a subject matter. It's a well-made movie. I just don't know if the subject matter.
Is that based on a true story, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the one with Tom Hanks? He's living in a terminal and starts fixing it up.
Yeah. But when was the last time you watched Bridge of Spies?
Well, see, then I'll go back to what I said I was going to say every single time. Going to that list, that was another one that I haven't seen in a while.
Such a good movie, dude.
Yeah, I like that one. That was the one where Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks goes off and negotiates a prison transfer. Yeah, between Soviet Russia and the U.S.
Yep.
The Post. I don't know if you've ever seen The Post, but it's really good. Ready Player One, of course, is awesome.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
But and his version of West Side Story, I also really liked. But
I didn't watch that.
That's good. I enjoyed it. But that's Steven Spielberg, and that's our list, guys. Let me recap the list for you, okay? And then we're going to move on to the news and get you out of here. All right, guys. For the Tim and Mike Show, our top 5 directors are the Coen brothers, Christopher Nolan, Ron Howard, Martin Scorsese, and Steven Spielberg. If yours is different, please leave a comment below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and join the conversation and come back to watch some more. Let's move on to the news. Welcome to the news, guys. I hope you enjoyed our last segment. We really put a lot of time and effort into that, but this is the news, and we talk about new movies that are coming out soon. And I got to tell you, this week there wasn't a lot of fruit to pick off the vine. It's a slow news week, but we're gonna get through it for you. We got the first one for you with Mel Brooks.
I'm Mel Brooks, yeah. The guy who brought you The Producers, Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs, and Blazing Saddles. And now I am proud to present the long-anticipated follow-up to my film, History of the World Part 1. We're calling it History of the World Part 2.
I've got some marketing materials to show you.
Let's just jump right into it.
Where's Noah?
Hey, guys.
I'm Jesus.
Judas.
General Grant. Mary Magdalene.
Princess Anastasia.
Sigmund Freud. Kublai Khan.
Rasputin.
Amelia Earhart.
Marco. And the other guy says, Polo. It's better in a pool.
Hands up where I can see them.
Good gravy is Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman, the inventor of the bathtub?
How did these dumbasses enslave us?
Some call me Jesus Christ, son of God.
Some call him broken corny.
That woman is enchanting.
You grabby bitch. Anything else? Are we dropping the accent?
We're dropping the accent!
Who is this? Your mama. If you're my mother, what is your last name?
Bell.
It's my mother. That confirms it.
You're a virgin.
Wow.
You want Jesus to be white.
That's not what I'm saying. Don't you put words in my mouth.
History of the world. Part 2.
Part 2. Part 2.
Part 2.
If this was on Netfish, I would cancel my subscription.
Netfish.
Pretty
Oh, you
great,
can't go
right?
wrong with Mel Brooks, man.
Dude.
So funny. He's so old now. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's in his 90s.
Yeah.
You know,
I still remember him like the Yoda and Spaceballs.
I mean, yogurt, not Yoda.
The yogurt, right.
Um, No, this is great because I remember watching this trailer and I'm always thinking, yeah, there was never a part 2. Why'd they call it part 1?
Well, maybe you planned on pulling out a part 2.
He went, he did it. The cast looks awesome. I think the
I
movie
think
looks
that's the
hilarious.
idea, right? Isn't that funny? Like, because the history of the world, part 1, like.
Yeah, and now it's part 2. But it seems like it's going back to a lot of stuff. I don't know. It seems like it's a 4-night event on Hulu.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be big. It's gonna be long. I'm excited about it, man. Mel Brooks
Yeah, I'll
is
check
one of my
that out.
faves. I love it. So,
Oh yeah.
all right, move on to the next one, eh?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, moving on to the next one. As we said before, we have a movie from one of the directors in our top 5 list, and without further ado, a film by Mr. Christopher Nolan.
Oh.
We imagine a future. And our imaginings horrify us. They won't fear it until they understand it. And they won't understand it until they've used it. Theory will take you only so far. I don't know if we can be trusted with such a weapon. But we have no choice. Is anyone ever going to tell the truth about what's happening here?
That looks really good. Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about using similar cast, all
Yeah.
that good stuff. One second. We're talking about using similar cast, all that good stuff. I mean, it's a departure for him because it's a historical, right? It's a
Right.
biopic,
Yeah.
not really Chris Nolan's thing. But I think you don't. You can simply say that maybe The Atom Bomb's one of the one of the worst and greatest inventions of mankind, right? And I don't think that you could find a better director to take on that story. And I think it's really interesting to see what he's going to do with it. Visually, it looks it's going to be intense. I'm excited about it, man. I think I want to hit the theaters for this one.
Yeah, that looks good. Definitely check that out. Theaters.
Yeah. So, you ready to move on to our last trailer of the night? We only have one more trailer, guys.
Yeah. Let's
All
check
right.
it out.
Let's do it.
Our people are scattered, like stars in the galaxy. What are we? What do we stand for? Being a Mandalorian's not just learning about how to fight. You also have to know how to navigate the galaxy. That way, you'll never be lost. I'm going to Mandalore so that I may be forgiven for my transgressions.
May the Force be with you!
This is the way.
There's something dangerous happening out there. And by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be too late.
Hang on, kid. This is the way.
There to get his little handle on his powers, huh? I'm ready to see teenage Yoda. Beard and zits on his face.
Talking
Smack all day.
Talking like that.
F you, Mando.
So season 3, man, we're getting it March 1st. Happy birthday to me. I think it's March 1st, right? March 1st. Yeah. What do you think of the trailer? Trailer looks pretty good, huh?
Yeah, looks good.
All
I
right.
enjoy those Mandalorian seasons.
I do as well.
I doubt very seriously we won't like that.
I agree. We'll probably bring up back previously on for it. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's it. Again, we're not going to tell you what we're watching next week, guys. We're just simply going to watch stuff. And we'll talk about it later. We'll have another top 5 list. I hope you're enjoying those. And I hope you enjoy the show. If you do, please like and comment below. If you don't, well, then okay, that's cool too.
Like and subscribe and comment anyway.
Yeah, like and subscribe. We take all kinds of feedback. So yeah, like and subscribe. That's the biggest thing. Subscribe so we can get more of this out of there. We love talking about movies. We love when you guys want to talk about movies. So we will see you guys next week. For the Tim and Mike Show, I'm Tim.
I'm Mike.
Like and subscribe and go watch some movies.